So, welcome back, and I see you now have between 2.5 to 5 million aUEC to spend and want to know what the finest ships are for your hard-earned currency. Well, let me allow you to take a break and do the troublesome work researching for you. I have the best options waiting for you further on in the video. There will be 4 ship sections to this video. These include combat ships, multi-role ships, cargo ships, and exploration/expedition. These are combined as one thereupon ship. These should be as sections at the bottom of the video, like chapters, if you feel the need to skip any of them throughout. And as you know if you watched the last video, the way I will stage each ship section is I will introduce it, say what it does, I will say the prices for it, I'll base the actual prices off of in-game aUEC, not in real life money. Then I'll go ahead and do a ship tour and handling, acceleration, etc. Combat usage for the ship, cargo capacities, and then any specific uses it's good for. And by the way, if you're a player who's thinking about getting in Star Citizen, feel free to use my referral code found down below. So first we have a look at a combat ship, and the one I and the stats I've chosen are the Vanguard Warden because of its consistent barrage you can send at your enemy when you're fighting them. It has a massive sized 4 weapon hardpoint which is gimbaled along with well sized shields and a decent amount of missiles. It also has a quite nice interior along with beds and a decent handling for the size of ship that it is. Now the price of this ship is 3,387,800 aUEC, and you can buy this from Lawville. Now you could rent it at Lawville as well with one of the Traveller's rentals which are located near the ship retrieval system. This is for a price in the thousands. Now to buy this with in real life money it would be $260, so a bit more than you'd expect. But let's get into the ship tour. Now starting off with a ship tour of the Vanguard Warden, and we have our only entrance which is in the rear just here. This ramp here does not have a button to activate, so you just kind of have to get your feet placement right and then you can bring it up. Moving up in towards this section here, it just holds a component and makes sure there is a kind of decompression layer, so when you open up the hangar, the space doesn't just all go in. As you can see there, your quantum drive is located at the back. And there is another set of doors which you need to go through to get to your habitation space. This is the main thing I really like about the Vanguard Warden and the Vanguard series of ships, is its habitation. To the right of the door we have access to a toilet and shower combined. Closing this up, and to the left of it we have access to some storage which you can just put objects in, like I don't know, a helmet maybe. Not much you can do with that at the moment, but still is there. To the left of this we have an engineering station. I really like the design of it. You can't currently use it yet, but well, kind of, but it's not bad. It looks really cool, but you can't use it. Here we have the avionics access. This is also another bit of useless storage at the moment, but it will be usable in the future. On the left side of the ship we have access to our water and food making services, and just to the right of this we have access to our weapon storage. 4 weapons just there. This is another cool thing, you can hold some weapons. To the right of this we have access to 2 beds, one for you and one for a friend. And of course, what is the friend going to do? Well, there's a turret just here, just above you. It has access to 2 ballistic repeater weapons. Watch out because these do lose ammo quite fast. You go through another section, and just before we step out here we do have access to what I would call a secret piece of storage, but it is a radar storage location, but it's not used and it's quite cool. Here you could just store something like a little gun maybe, or some illegal stuff. I don't know, you can make up your mind with that, but I think it's pretty cool. More components to the left and to the right side here, and then we sit and go to our pilot seat. I do also really like the design of this cockpit. It reminds me a little bit of a Prowler, the Asperia Prowler, which is an alien dropship, but it feels like it should have a virtual cockpit, which I think they may be introducing into the future. Now as you can see, the visibility of this cockpit is quite nice. It's like many other ships here, you can see to your left, right and around you quite well, not below you, and there's a slight bit in the top of it where you can't see. The takeoff speeds of this ship are also alright. I'll give you a little showcase just here. This is with a boost on, and it's on a slightly moon-like planet. By the way, whilst we're just doing a little bit of a test, I'd like to say the quantum fuel of this ship is also quite good and can get you to most places around Stanton. For a heavy fighter though, I would say that's not too bad. As you can see, we're still climbing and we're not losing any momentum just going up here. slowly escaping the gravity. The handling of the ship is also not too bad, even under high speeds. As you can see, we can turn around in about, like, I don't know, 5 seconds under nearly maximum speed. Turning and stuff, you'd be very happy if you get it. It's very responsive. That's it for the ship tour though. Now moving on to the combat side of the ship, and this is definitely the strongest one out of the bunch. It has one sized 5 point with a sized 4 gimbal mounted ballistic Gatling weapon employed. This deals an absolute load of damage, but be careful because you will have to reload it if you waste too much ammo. It can shred through shields and armor though. It then has 4 sized 2 laser cannons. These are also not bad and do deal quite a decent amount of damage to shields. That's it for the pilot's weapons, and you do get a turret which has 2 sized 2 ballistic repeaters on. These do deal quite a bit of damage actually, but just be careful because you only get something like 200 bullets which you can shred through really fast. This ship also gets a bunch of missiles. It gets 8 sized 2 electromagnetic missiles and 4 sized 3 cross-section missiles, so take your pick on those. It also has 2 sized 2 shields, giving you 18,000 HP worth of shields, and the maneuverability, as I've said before, is also very good on this ship, so you're kind of winning in everything when it comes to combat. Now it gets 0 cargo capacities, but the combat is the specific use of this ship, which I've gone over this whole time, so I'll just repeat it one more time, but this ship is amazing at combat. You'll definitely have fun using it, so give it a go, I would say. By the way, if anyone's new here and thinking of getting in Star Citizen, be sure to use my referral code in the description. Helps me out a little bit and gives you a little bit extra too, and feel free to like and subscribe. Now we have a multi-role ship, and for this role I have chosen the Constellation Andromeda because of how fun it can be to use and how it can dabble in a bit of everything, but even more persistently than other ships can of multi-role. It also is quite a reasonable price for what you get. So sorry for all my Corsair fans out there, but I'm saving you for another section. The Constellation even has a snub fighter built in on the back, which can be used to scout out an area or be piloted by another crew member for extra assistance in combat or just assistance. It also has quite a nice interior, and while some people do not like the look of the exterior, I seem to think it's quite appealing to the eye. Although it doesn't have an amazing amount of quantum fuel, it is sufficient to get you to and from most places and still enjoy it and not have to refuel really. And the price of this ship is 3,548,000 aUEC, and you can buy that at Lawville, but you could also rent this ship from New Babbage, Area 18, Orison and Lawville for loads cheaper if you wanted to, and for in real life money, this ship would be $240 without tax. So starting off with a ship tour of the Constellation Andromeda, and we have 2 entrances. We have either the cargo bay entrance over there or the main elevator just here. Just for ease of use, we're going to be using the main elevator just here, and this takes you up into a kind of decompression chamber and straight up into the habitation room of the ship. We're just going to move into the cockpit before we explore this section though. Straight to our left we have access to a workbench, which you can't currently use, and it also has your avionics tab there. To the right side we have some more unusable objects, but then in front of us here we have our 2 turrets. These have 2 Badger repeaters in each one. This is to the bottom of the ship and this is to the top of the ship of course. Going around these things, and we have our pilot chair and our 2 co-pilot seats. Now our 2 co-pilot seats don't actually do anything at the moment, but the pilot seat is really nice and you get swiveled around to the front. And I'll just have a look at the visibility now whilst we're in the front, and then I'll go over the acceleration and stuff at the end. But if you can tell, it's actually not that bad for visibility. You can see all to your left and right, even below you and above you quite well. A lot of people seem to complain about these little metal struts going through, but I really don't find it that much of a big deal, to be honest. I feel like I can still see quite a lot of the areas around, so I don't know, that's just my personal opinion, but it could be different for quite a lot of people. Now that's the bridge sorted out, let's go back towards the habitation room. Yep, so going just through these doors here, we have our airlock below us, and then straight above us we actually have access to a door or a little chamber up the top which opens up. This could be our docking clamp in the future. That opens up nicely, you can enter it when you're in space, not of course whilst you're in gravity, you can't quite get up there. But to the right of this we have access to a chair, and I still can't find a way to get this table up, but I feel like I've done it before. There's nothing else around this though, and then behind us just here we have access to a shower and toilet combined, well what's supposed to be one, there's nothing actually in here yet. And then to the right of these we have access to 5 different personal suit lockers, but you can't store anything in that moment. And then of course 2 weapon racks just here. These are actually smaller than you think weapon racks, just 1 in the middle. Towards the back side, and then we have 4 beds, 2 on either side. Now I really feel like this whole section here could be updated a little bit, and it feels a little outdated, so I feel like they might do this in the future, but it's still alright. Going towards the cargo section of a ship, and we can access our cargo ramp just here by opening it down and bringing it back up. It's quite a nice section down there, and I'll just bring it down for you guys. As you can see, it all lights up around the edges, and you can fit something like an Ursa rover on here. This ship does come with a Grey Cat PTV, which is a stock thing it comes with, so that's quite nice. Sometimes there's a bug where you can't bring it back up, like I've got now, but sometimes you can. Walking around the sides, and it's identical on the other side, but we have our missile racks, which are just held here, which are the missiles which come top down on this ship. To the left of us here, we have access to another airlock. This is also on the other side. This you can exit the ship with on gravity or on space, but if you're in gravity mode, make sure you don't step onto this, as you cannot jump back up. Going around to the ship other side, and we have access to another ladder and another control panel here to bring up and down the cargo bay. You do have components, but you cannot access any of them, another outdated thing on this ship. Not even the button down there. And then we go even further back towards section D of this ship. We have more components, which again you cannot access. And then just in this back section here, we actually have a snub fighter ship, which you can access. It's a small little room. On the Constellation Taurus is where some cargo is held, but here is a snub fighter. Now I'm going to go into space to be able to use this, or else I would never get it back in. So in order to use this snub fighter, you're going to get in it just like any ordinary ship by clicking on the pilot seat. This will allow you to enter it, of course. Once you've sat down like I am now, you're going to press U to turn on the ship and power it on. Then click I to turn on the engines. Then click N once to be released. Give it a second, and there you go, you should pop out like so. Now you're free to go around, do whatever you want. It's something like 15,000 meters you can go away from your constellation Andromeda before you go off the radar and you cannot see it anymore. So try to stay within that, or else you might lose where you've parked your ship. Now under normal conditions, to be able to redock with your ship, you would have to press T to target the Andromeda, then press N to request docking permission, and wait for all these little signals to pop up on your screen. Follow the green lights by adjusting your ship. Wise, just trying to slot it into where you pulled out of. When you're close enough, hold down N and you'll be auto-docked back in, and then you can get out, power off your ship and do like normal. But for some reason the Constellation always seems to be bugged and it doesn't work at the moment again. Now the handling of this ship, it honestly doesn't feel the greatest. Whenever you're turning or going any sort of speeds, it does definitely feel like it's trying to fight you with it. If you're going a lower speed, you can definitely help lower this feeling, but it's still quite there. The acceleration and deceleration isn't too bad, and takeoff and landing also isn't too bad, but the handling is just a little bit worse. Now talking about the combat of the Constellation Andromeda, and the pilot can control 4 sized 4 Rhino laser repeaters. These are actually amazing when you're using them, and they definitely feel like a combat ship in a way. The ship also has 2 turrets. These have 2 size 2 Badger laser repeaters on each of them. These also deal quite a decent amount of damage if you have friends that come on board, one top, one bottom. And then of course you have an absolute load of missiles. You have 24 sized 2 cross-section missiles and 28 sized 1 infrared missiles. A set of these come out the top and a set of these come out the sides of a ship, so you just have to see which ones to pick. For shields, it gets 1 sized 3 shield, which has 100,000 HP. It's a great amount of shield, that is. You can't get much more than it really. For the cargo, this ship gets 96 SCU of storage. This is held at kind of a middle bottom of the ship, the cargo thing that drops out, so that's held. Or you could store some ground vehicles on there. That's personally what I do. Some really small air vehicle may fit on there, like the Fury or some other ship like that. And some multiple uses you could use this ship for is combat, mercenary, exploration, mining if you can get your mining vehicle on there, and many more which I can't name because there's so many. Progressing on, we have a people's choice for heavy hauling, the C2 Hercules Starlifter. This was the best choice because of how high its cargo capacity was for its price. This capacity is also valued among being one of the highest in the game that can go into atmosphere with cargo at the current patch, which is 696 SCU, tremendous amount, sir. It also has an additional very high quantum drive capacity over some of the other haulers, for example the Caterpillar, which comes in close to this one. This ship is tremendous in size while somehow still keeping quite a swift speed and handling capability. This ship is for people who like quite a premium industrial look and finished look, as it comes with a white and complete finish. It does have a slightly lackluster interior, but that's just because of how massive it is and how small the rooms are in comparison. Now, if you wanted a more practical, smaller, derelict looking ship, you could go for the Caterpillar, which I mentioned earlier. The only reason I didn't go for this one at the moment is because of a lot of its features are not in use yet or are not at optimal usability, like the tractor beam that was recently introduced, and also how it doesn't have as high an SCU capacity for nearly the same price. It's something like 150 less. Personally, I prefer the Caterpillar over the C1 though for some reason, so it's down to personal preference in the end of it. Now, talking about the price of the ship, and this ship does come in at a higher price range. This is of 4,925,500 aUEC, and it can be brought from Area 18 or Horizon. Trust me, it is worth waiting for grinding for it, but you could meet somewhere in the lower price of the Constellation Taurus for about 3.3 million, which also was a quite decent amount of cargo capacity, and then you could work your way up to this, but remember your reward per cargo run will be less if you buy that. For in real life money, this ship would be $400 without tax applied. Remember, if you're buying it with in real life money, that in order to start the cargo hauling, you have to have in-game money already in order to buy the cargo. Same goes for if you're buying it in-game, make sure you have some aUEC left over. Now, starting off with a ship tour of the C2, we actually have 3 entrances. You have a massive one at the back here, which is where you'll probably most likely unload your ground vehicles from. You have an elevator here, which can take you straight up to a cockpit, and it'll be the one you use on your own most likely, and a front one here, which I don't think you'll really use. For the ease of use, I'll use the back elevator, the back ramp, just to go through easily. As you can see, we have one turret down below. This is a remote turret which you can use in the co-pilot seat when you're using that, and there is also a turret on the top up there, which is another one you can use. These are both accessible only in the co-pilot seat, but they do make for some good defense. As you can tell though, the ramp is quite slow, which could be a problem if you're trying to quickly get onto the ship. Walking up this ramp there, you can see it's absolutely massive. You can fit basically any ground vehicle in here you can think of. You can see how massive the room is inside too. I think you can fit any ground vehicle in here, and even some air vehicles. It fits anything you want really. I know it can fit a Nova tank, which is the biggest ground vehicle in the game, and any starter ships will most likely fit in here. Going along here, you don't really have much in here, it's just kind of walls and bits. You have a ladder here, which is just in case your elevator goes out, which can take you up to the top floor. Or you have your elevator just here, which is the one I was on about earlier. So this one will go straight down to the ground floor, and then you can also go to the top deck. So you could just go straight to the top deck and it'll be a lot quicker than opening up the ramp every time. Moving out of this elevator and straight to our left, just over here, we have access to the ladder. For some reason that didn't activate, but opening this up, yeah, as you can see there's a ladder there, that's one that will take us up. And straight to our right, just off the elevator, we have access to the recreational area. Now, my lights don't for some reason work in here, but we have basically some chairs, TVs, storage, drinks, all your kind of normal recreational area stuff. Chairs and a table here, just for sitting around and enjoying stuff. Moving out of here, though, back onto the main deck. And as you can see, it's a bit of a layout, this ship. You have a couple of stairwells going across, but to the right over here, you have access to a couple of components, and the design of this engine's really cool. Don't really know, just looks very nice in my opinion. Another component down there, but we'll make our way across these stairs, and to the right again, more components identical to the other side, and then we have access to our habitation room. This is where you'll sleep and all the in between. You have access to some personal lockers here, 2 of them on either side. Put some boxes in there if you wanted to. A table and a chair, a worktop and a TV, and then your bed to log in and out on. You have access to a toilet on either side here, one for each person. Toilet and shower combined. And on the other side, it's identical to the other side, so you have access to table, chair, TV, bed, 2 more lockers here, and the exit. That's it for the habitation now, and then we have another bridge if you wanted to go across to the other side, but now let's make our way towards the front and the cockpit. You have access to a really long runway of tunnels here, but this is just components. Then you enter into the main bridge room, and you have access to your weapon racks here, both either side. As you can see, a couple of big ones, a few smaller ones, quite a lot of weapons to be honest. Here you've access to an EVA pod and skate pod to the left. These don't currently work, but they will do in the future. This is on either side. And then here we have the bridge. Couple more slots to the left and to the right side. And then the main 2 seats. To the left is the pilot seat and to the right the co-pilot seat. I'll just show you the co-pilot seat and those 2 turrets I was on about before I go into a pilot seat. To activate them you just need to power it on and then go to this left button here. Sometimes it can be a little bit fiddly, but there you go, this is access to the top one. Just to give you some angles on the back. And then the bottom one here. This is just in case anyone's trying to attack you from behind. I mean, this one can do anything below you, so just in case. That's it for the co-pilot seat though. So if you are a secondary player, it's actually quite useful and you could be of a good size. Because they are sized for weapons, so it could be of good use. This is our pilot seat though. And let's just have a look at the visibility to start off with. And well, it's quite bright, but you can see all the way to your left and to your right, but honestly it's not that good. You can't see below you or above you. It is a cargo ship, so I understand that, but it's not the best really. You have access to your 2 main weapons at the top there. I think the dust storm actually, that's probably why it's not so good. But let me just show you the acceleration with a boost on and VTOL up. As you can see, you can reach into the hundreds quite quickly. This is a lower gravity moon, but in the gravity it's still quite good. So you exited the planet already. You see the visibility a little bit better there, but the turning of the ship isn't the worst. It's definitely not a turn fighter, of course, as you'd expect, but it's actually not too bad for a ship of this size. Along with the acceleration, it can make some speedy getaways if you need to, and even do some combat if you really feel like you could. This is because of its sized 4 main weapons, they are actually quite strong. That's it for the ship tour and handling though. Now for weapons, this ship gets 2 pilot controlled sized 4 laser cannons. These are gimbal mounted and actually deal a massive amount of damage for what a cargo ship is. It also has 2 turrets which you saw in the co-pilot seats. Each of these have 2 laser cannons of size 4 again also. And for shields, it gets 2 sized 3 shields with 100,000 HP each. This is really strong, you're going to struggle to get through these if you're an enemy. It doesn't get any missiles, but you don't really need them seeing as you're a cargo ship. But overall I think the combat of the ship is great, but just don't try to do any bounty missions with it because the handling capabilities and the speeds are not going to be up to standards of what you want it for. But you could technically use it for that. Now, as a specific use, as you know, this ship has 696 SCU of cargo capacity, which is great for cargo. There are a couple of good cargo runs which you could do. One of them are if you go to HDMS Lathan on Hurston, near Lawville, and then you buy Laranite, a full stock of Laranite. That'll cost you about 1.7 million to invest in it. Then if you sell it at Lawville, it'll give you about 311,000 aUEC profit, so it's 311 aUEC per run. Another Laranite one you could do is buy at Arc Corp 056 and then sell at Area 18, so both in the kind of Area 18 area. That'll make you 343,000 profit. And then if you're really lucky and you're able to sell gold at either Shubin SCD1 or Shubin SMO18, these are on either Microtech or Daymar Crusader, then you'll make about 1,100,000 profit per run, if you do gold that is. Now with the exploration ships, this one is for those who love to explore the unknown depths of the verse whilst being protected to the utmost manner, but don't care for taking the game in the most serious way and just want to explore to their heart's desire. The Corsair is the best choice for you if this is how you feel. With the ability to carry ground vehicles, hold cargo, defend itself, and many more things, you will feel the utmost authoritativeness of this ship. Many call it a pirate ship and many call it a combat ship, but it's so much more than just these things alone. I myself would class it as a multi-role ship, but that section's already filled up. The price of a Drake Corsair is 3,402,000 aUEC, this is from Lawville, and for in real life money this ship would be $250, so not too bad. But, moving on to the ship tour. Starting off with a ship tour of the Corsair, and we have 2 entrances, either this rear entrance at the back or an elevator located at the front just over there. Normally you'll use the elevator at the front, but for ease of use of walking throughout a ship we're going to use the rear entrance at the back. But access points are actually quite far in front of it, but it's still alright. Now as you can see already, this ramp is quite wide. I think you actually might even be able to fit a Tumbril Storm in here, the new ground vehicle. There are floodlights which you can turn on for the outside, just for when it's quite dark outside. But turning around again, you can tell it's definitely quite a big space. Now this is also where your SCU of cargo would be held, 72 SCU that is, but that's it for this room. So moving up into the main kind of, not habitation room, but a sub room. You do have to manually turn on all of these lights. As you can see though, it's still quite dingy and dark with them even on. Can't use these screens currently, so this room here is kind of just a little junction circle. There is a room to the right side though, which is kind of your armory room. I quite like this room. It has 2 personal lockers inside, which you can put boxes in. 2 massive weapon racks, which you can use to store like railguns or rocket launchers. On the other side, it has access to 6 different smaller weapons, and 6 like pistols. You have 2 more lockers, and then also an exit into the outside. This has a 1 and 2 system here to be able to get out. Moving back through the ship, and we go towards a habitation room. Entering into here, and as you can tell, it's still quite a bit dingy to the right. But going over to the right, we have access to our table here, which is where you'll eat. Food and water making services, worktops. On the other side over here, we have access to our toilet. This is the only toilet in the ship, toilet and shower combined. Moving over to the other side, and we have access to 3 habitation rooms. There's one to the left here, which I'll show off, and the other ones are identical. In here we have a bed to log in and out on, a personal locker, and that's it. Of course, the other 2 rooms are identical. As you can see, bed, locker, a bed and a locker. As you can see, the lights are turned off in this room here too, having to manually turn them on. Now this is one very cool feature about the Corsair. This main thing here is an elevator which can take you from a floor to the top of a ship. This one here to the bottom, this middle one to the middle, and then the top one to actually on top of the ship, which I'll show off now. Now just look at that view. Don't you love Star Citizen? But you can walk all through the top of a ship here. It's a really nice, really cool feature. You doubt you'll use it very much, but as it is, it's really cool to have. Now this is a small turret which the co-pilot will get access to when you use it. But you can't do anything up here, just walk around, maybe scout out the area before you go rushing off into battle. But you probably won't be doing that very much because it isn't really in the game yet. But moving back down this elevator, it has to be shut off at the top first, so no decompressed air gets, well, we'll just open up there. Moving towards the turreted section of the ship, and we have one to the right and one to the left. Both of these just take you to the outside, and then you can shoot in front of you, and you're slightly blocked by the wing though. But moving through this section here, that's all that's in there. This is the main cockpit, and we do actually have a main bedroom in here. So this is maybe the one you'd most likely sleep in. As you can tell again, it is quite dark, but you get a personal locker and a bed in here, just like the other rooms. In the cockpit we have our co-pilot seat and our pilot seat. I'll just show off the co-pilot seat first, but you actually, quite cool, but you get brought below the ship and into a sub-seat. This is only access to one of the turrets though, so it's not the most interesting. To do this, you just have to power it on at the top like normal. And then click this little button here. As you can see though, it's the one I was on about earlier. 2 Badger repeaters are on this, but yeah, as you can tell here also, the wings do slightly block your vision. It's not too big of a deal, you can still shoot behind and in front of you, but it could be something that you want to think about. To exit, you just have to pull this lever here, and then you get brought back out and up the ship. I do quite like that feature, even if it isn't the most used at the moment. At the front just here we have access to our pilot seat. Now in our pilot seat, the visibility isn't the worst. You can see around you, to the left, top and above you, not below you. In front of you is alright, but you do have a little bit blocked by these metal struts. Not too big of a deal though. You have quite a few MCB screens you can turn on, or LCD screens, however you want to do them. And you have access to 4 of your turrets starting off, and then when you activate the wings and they float down, you have access to 2 more weapons. These are gimbal mounted, these 4, and so the other 2. Now, whilst we're in this pilot seat, I'm going to have a quick look at the acceleration, taking off and landing in the ship, and also show you the weapons when they're activated. Now, there is a VTOL feature, as you can tell, just there, keeping them down low. This is on a moon, so it is a little bit less gravity than normal, but it's not the greatest, seeing as there's a boost on. It's definitely not the worst considering how big the ship is, but could be better. In order to activate the wings, you must press Alt and then K. This brings the wings down. Also make sure you've lowered your landing gear. And then I'll just show off some of the maneuverability. Also, as you can tell, you've got access to your 2 smaller sized lower weapons. Now, the maneuverability of this ship, whilst it isn't bad, it can be a little bit janky because of how asymmetrical this ship is. Definitely is all still good though because of your gimbal mounts. You can't land with your wings out like this, but it's still quite fun to fly around like it. Some people, personally as well, I don't like the actual front of a ship and how the side of it sticks out, but some people do really like it. But that's it for a ship tour. Now, when talking about combat with this ship, it does have some of the highest DPS pilot controlled weapons in the game. This is because you get 4 sized 4 M6A laser cannons. These are also on a gimbal mount, which adds to the deal of them. You then also get 2 sized 3 laser cannons when you extend your wings. These are also not bad. The co-pilot, the one I was showing, has 2 sized 2 Badger laser repeaters. Whilst these aren't bad, the range of them is a little bit less. And then the 2-man turrets are also again 2 sized 2 Badger laser repeaters. It does get some missiles, and it gets 8 sized 3 Arrestor 3 missiles. These are also not bad. They are done on cross section, so how sizable the ship is. And it does also get 1 sized 3 shield with 100,000 HP. This does sometimes go down quite quickly and leaves you vulnerable to attacks, but as long as you're turning or staying out of the same place, you should be alright. The maneuverability of this ship is about the same as the Constellation Andromeda, which is quite comparable to it, but it can sometimes be a bit janky, so you might struggle to get some of your weapons on target, and your wings are a little bit of a weak point in a way. Now, the cargo capacity of this ship is 72 SCU, which whilst it's less than Constellation Andromeda, the comparable ship to this, it actually can fit a wider range of ground vehicles on it because of how much wider the ramp is to be able to fit things up. Like I said, you might even be able to fit a Tumbril Storm in there, the new AA vehicle, so you definitely can fit some ground vehicles on there though. Unfortunately, you cannot fit the C8X Pyceso. Now, as an exploration ship, you're kind of a ship which can also do everything like a multi-ship. This is because exploration isn't completely in the game yet, but when it's fully implemented, it'll be a lot more prevalent and this ship will be way more useful. The reason I didn't put this down as a multi-ship was because the Constellation Andromeda does have quite a few features which are higher up on the list than the Corsair. The size of the Corsair is also quite big, where it's not needed, and the asymmetrical some people don't like, but I think that's it for the Corsair. Well, I hope you've all enjoyed watching that, and that's me, Duffer, who seems to be going out now.